Good evening, everybody. Make sure I got a good connection here. Let me get a radio check. Let me know where everyone's watching from. Today we're going to be talking about, excuse me, common problems on semi trucks. We're going to go over some repairs. Let me know where you guys are watching from. I hope everyone's doing good this evening. Let me make sure my audio is good. Let me know where you guys are watching from. Okay, we're going to be talking about common problems on semi trucks. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Adam with TAT Express. I'm a shop owner here in DFW area. If you are looking for a service and you're in the Dallas area, give us a call, 972-225-3017. We are located at 4140 Langdon Road, Dallas, Texas, 75241. Call us at 972-225. We're just off of Interstate 45 and 20. Shout out to everybody that's been joining us. I appreciate all y'all's support. Hope you guys like that last video. I'm gonna be going over some of the comments on that particular video. So thank you guys again for joining us. Let's get this show on the road. I'm gonna be talking about common repairs. As I mentioned, I'm a shop owner at TAT Express in Dallas. We service Class 8 trucks, semi trucks. We also service medium and light duty trucks and RVs. Getting in that season for RV season, so make sure your RV's ready to go. Can you guys hear me all right out there? We went over a few repairs yesterday, and we talked about a few items when it came to suspension. Today, I'm going to be wrapping up some things that I didn't get to talk about on that last time, and it's right in the season as well. It's right in a good enough season right now, and what I'm gonna be discussing is AC service. You know, here in Texas, I don't know if you guys are from or wherever you guys are watching from. It gets pretty warm. Any parts of the United States, if you're from the South, it gets super warm. But get that AC checked out. What we got here, the first item I want to discuss. It looks like it's a lost connection on the AC compressor. Now, we see this pretty often I'm going to do the share screen for you guys. Let me go over to the share screen. Oh, I see all the comments coming in on the chat. What's up, Edward? Thanks for joining us. We got viewers from Washington, Atlanta, Oregon. Shout out to Oregon. Shout out to Missouri. Jeffrey from Missouri from joining us. Jose, Long Beach, California. Alfredo in Mesquite. Thanks again for that radio check, Jose. If you guys got any questions, hit me up on Super Chat. Freightliner Cascadia differential temperature replaced. Still not showing temperature. Okay, Alfredo, if you replaced a sensor and it's still not showing, Alfredo's got a question about a differential temperature sensor on a 2020 Freightliner Cascadia. If it's still not reading after replacing the sensor, check out the harness and make sure that the harness doesn't have any corrosion. A lot of times those harnesses cannot be secured correctly, zip tied up correctly, and they could rub, be hanging, be dangling, and they'll wear it out. And it's just in time for this. We're talking about AC, or I was just mentioning about AC. I got a job here that I'm about to bring up, and it was because of toasted up wires. It looks like a repair was probably done. Good question there, Alfredo. I appreciate that. If it is this, as I mentioned, if it's still not showing temp, you're gonna have to troubleshoot the harness to ensure you don't have any kind of chafing or anything like that. Could be a bad connector. What's tough about these sensors that are on the chassis instead of on the engine, the chassis harnesses, you're gonna have to kind of just trace it down, and it's gonna come to a big connection, and make sure all these connections are solid. They can be it can be a little bit of a headache troubleshooting an electrical problem. It could be time consuming. I couldn't give you an exact hey, this is where it's at. But what I would do is definitely look up some diagrams and look up some troubleshooting information so that you can start from there. Usually, what troubleshooting procedures will have us do is test continuity. In some of my other broadcasts, I mentioned about when over time these wires will lose their continuity, and what that means is they start getting worn, and the signals, like electrical signals, your signal that your sensor is trying to send back to your gauge so that you can actually see the temperature is not reaching because the wires either wore. So there are troubleshooting steps to check that out. That, as I mentioned, that brings us up to our first common problem here, and it's going to be electrical problems. This is an older model truck here. Has a Caterpillar, as you can see, the yellow top on up top, and you can see the wire here. There was an attempt on a repair here. So usually when we have an AC not working properly, we kind of troubleshoot everything from without kind of taking anything off. You want to ensure that the AC is it's not. A lot of people would think right away that if you have an AC problem that it's going to end up being Freon, and then they start shooting Freon in the system, and it could be an electrical problem. And when it's an electrical problem and you add Freon onto the system or into a system that's not leaking or that's correctly charged, then what's going to happen is you're going to overcharge it. And when you overcharge a system, then it actually loses its cooling capability, because the way that AC systems work is it's kind of like using it's kind of like the liquid that's in a got my background come back. It's kind of like the liquid that's in an aerosol. It's exactly the same. When you push it, whenever you shake an aerosol can, it's originally liquid inside, and when you push the button, it turns that liquid into a mist. And that's how AC works. AC just does that repeatedly, and in that process, when that liquid turns into a mist, it gets cold, and that's where it happens actually in the evaporator. All the other components are just to ensure everything's working properly. And in this particular case, what we had is a bad plug. So it looks like a repair was done. You can see here that a repair was done on this photo. And a lot of times when these repairs, electrical problems like this are happening, very common. It could either be on this particular case, it's on an air compressor, but it could be on a headlight. It can be anywhere on the truck and anywhere. So whenever a repair is done, for example, this repair, you can see how they crimped it, but usually what you want to use is heat shrink, because even though you are crimping it and you put electrical tape on it, electrical tape and this is not actually sealing it. And what you want is a seal. That's why these plugs here, they come with seals on them. And these seals is what actually ensures that no water or moisture goes into the plug. And the same with the repair like this. If you don't seal it where water can't come back in or go in here and contaminate it, then it's going to make this repair not last a very long time. It's going to shorten the life of that repair. You can still have issues going on with it. In this particular case, we had to replace the plug on this. The troubleshooting to this came in with compressor issues. As I mentioned, in the background, this is the AC compressor. It's an older style compressor. If you're a York style compressor, you don't often see these on modern engines. These, like I said, this is a Caterpillar, an older engine, but mostly AC systems are the same way when it comes to troubleshooting. So as I mentioned before when I started about AC systems, you don't want to just add Freon because you can turn around and just overcharge the system. As I mentioned, just wanted to reiterate that, because a lot of people are just adding Freon in their AC systems, and you don't want to do that, because you're basically going to just overcharge it. So this is another photo of just us checking continuity. Jose, when you had your question earlier about that sensor not still reading on your dash, that temperature sensor not reading correctly on your dash for your differential, these are the types of steps that you're going to be doing, and where you need to be checking on the other end is where it's connecting. So that's how you're going to be actually checking continuity. One thing that I thought about the other day, once after we broadcast, not too many people may understand how an ohm meter works. What an ohm meter does is it's sending a very light voltage down, and it's basically just trying to see how much resistance it takes to actually receive the signal back on the other end. So you have one probe is sending a signal, and the other probe is receiving the signal. So if you push the two probes together, that would be, of course, zero resistance. So once you start putting anything in between those two probes, and in this case you're probing a electrical harness, there would be a tolerance that you would be looking for. In this particular case, it's showing an open, and it should be showing a close, which is showing open continuity. And that's how he was able to pinpoint and find out what was going on. Then we got the AC blowing cold. This is just a photo. As I mentioned, if you are looking for service and you're passing through the Dallas-Fort Worth area, be sure to stop by 972-225-3017. We service all Class A trucks, AC systems, heavy line items, electrical problems, after treatment systems, welding, trailer repair. That's going to be one of the next items I'm going to be covering. It's another common problem. So if you guys own a trailer, we also do trailer repair as well. Let me make sure I don't have any more photos on this particular subject here. AC maintenance. So you don't wait till your AC actually goes out. This is the next job I'm going to be talking about is going to be pulleys and belts. So let me move on to the next common repair that you're going to see. This is going to be part of preventive maintenance. I know if you guys watch a lot of our videos, I talk a lot about preventive maintenance and how important preventive maintenance is. Preventive maintenance is actually just you're preventing a problem from happening. So you're not waiting for a breakdown. Anytime we do AC systems, you want to follow how we are when it comes with following procedures. This is just an image of a recovery system. When you have a system that comes in, for example, that is not working correctly or not cooling correctly, what we would do is troubleshoot it to ensure all signals, correct signals, meaning by sensors are reading right, everything's reading correctly for that AC to turn on. If that AC is not turned on, then when we would hook up some gauges and kind of check the pressures. If the pressures are low, then we would evac the system. And for example, this particular system should have anywhere close to around 3 pounds of refrigerant. And as you can see, when it was recovered, there is only 0.071, which is showing low. We would definitely have to refill this. If there's something that's been out of service for a long time, I would caution just to add Freon. I know I just mentioned in some cases AC systems will need Freon, but AC systems aren't designed to leak out Freon often. You shouldn't have to put Freon every year. If you have a leak, you definitely get it replaced, because what happens with AC leaks, air conditioner leaks, is where the Freon leaks out, moisture is going to go in. Everything inside an AC system is made out of aluminum, and it's just going to tear everything up. I know I'm still covering AC system, but this is just kind of part of preventive maintenance and common issues you're going to see on a semi as well. Belt tensioners and belts, this is pretty common as well. This is something I mention all the time. If you got a squeaking You got belt tensioner that's annoying you worse than a spam call, then get that tensioner replaced. Don't let that thing just keep calling you and keep yelling at you like that. I would say, honestly, if you have a truck with 500,000 miles on it and your belt and tensioner hasn't been done, and this is on all models, not just the red engine, not just the Volvo, not just the DD15s, all of them. And what you don't want is, you don't think you're going to be able to replace these on the side of the road when one buses, because especially Volvos, DD15s, these can be a lot more complicated. And I'm not saying that you can't do it, or you're not capable, but not having the right tools, and it's not like a car. These aren't like cars. So during an AC service, we run vacuum tests as well. These particular test tools are very useful. They do a lot of automated systems. If you're working with a shop and you keep having AC problems and these guys are just working with gauges and nothing else, they don't have an actual machine, look for someone that actually uses a machine, because the guys using just gauges, yeah, they might be able to get your stuff blowing cold, but running functionality tests and making sure it's going to last a long time is another question. Shout out to everybody that's joined us this evening. I got my probably 6 cups of coffee today here at 8 o'clock tonight, trying to keep everybody entertained and get you guys this information here. So let's keep on moving. Here's the old ones. Here's the old parts. You can see those pretty wore. Belts really glossy. You can see that glossiness. Don't wait for them to bust, because once they bust, they can tear up more things. And these are belts on a Cummins ISX, and this can be on any model. Shout out to everybody that's joined us this evening. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm going to be getting over to your guys' questions. If you would like to highlight your question, hit us up on Super Chat. Let me go over to the display now. Hope everyone's doing well this evening. Let me see where these questions are, or these comments. Edward, where was that at? Edward said he came by, was that at our shop? Edward said he had some batteries replaced. Appreciate everybody that's joined us this evening. Hey, Alfredo, hopefully that answer I was able to answer your question and give you some more insight. That is a very common problem when it comes to these wiring harnesses, sensors. But that's a good shout out to you for keeping an eye on that, because differential pressure is very important. Some models don't come with temperature sensors in the transmission or in the differential. And one thing that I don't like about a lot of these models is and it's probably because it's hard to put a sensor or a leveling device. But I would like to know if when differentials or transmissions get low, a temperature sensor is even better. Hopefully they can later on tie into the systems where it's actually going to derate the truck or shut the truck down, because I've seen it where it can cause damage before, even if you're reading hot, it's not going to shut the truck off. So appreciate that question. That brings me to another item that I wanted to bring up about how a lot of these manufacturers are kind of bringing everything together. For example, Detroit's making their own transmissions, Volvo's making their own transmission, and PACCAR's making their own transmission. Cummins has always been with Eaton, but that's what's very interesting about a lot of these transmissions and a lot of is basically they're all coming from the same place, which is Eaton, but they're just rebranding it and putting their names on it. But what's interesting, and I understand the reason why they're doing this, is they want to create the whole the whole engine drivetrain all to one manufacturer, because it's going to limit the how you would say it's going to increase the quality, because now they're able to not only control the engine and the transmission, now they're doing differentials as well, chassis, everything is going to be in house. So whenever you do have problems like differential pressure sensors going out like this, or differential temperature sensors going out like this, it's going to be a little bit more easy to replace. But shout out to everybody that's joined us this evening. Yeah, Jose's followed up with you on that same question. He said, make sure you have power, test power out from the pigtail. What's the typical, Jeffrey has a question here. What's the typical life expectancy of a 2018 DD15 in your experience? I just released that video. Make sure you're a subscriber, Jeffrey. Hit that like button as well if you're joining us this evening. If you're in the DFW area, which is Dallas-Fort Worth area, we're located off of 4140 Langdon Road, Dallas, Texas, 75241. And if you're looking for service, we offer express professional service. Give us a call. We'll be more than happy to help you. But as I was going to get with you on this, a life expectancy on any engine, if you look at the data sheets, which is the data tech sheets, this is what they're engineered to last. Most Class 8 diesel engines are going to have a lifespan of over 1 million. They're not making engines less than 1 million miles. Now, whether or not they're going to make it over 1 million miles is another topic. That's another discussion. The best way to ensure that an engine is going to last you as long as possible is just having the preventive maintenance, doing preventive maintenance. I know you kind of hear me repeat this over and over, but preventive maintenance can go a long way. In the video that I just released, when was it? Yesterday. I hope you guys like that information. But in this video, I'm basically discussing the DD15, and I'm a fan of all Class 8 diesel engines. I'm not just on one engine. I know you guys see us with a lot of the DD15. We also service Volvo. We also service Mack. We also service Packard, Caterpillar. I just giving you an example of Caterpillar, Cummins M14s, older model, pre-emissions. So we service all models. Everything on the highway we service. So but what I was getting to is a maintenance program is going to help you ensure that you're going to get that life expectancy, whatever model you have. So if it's kind of challenging, because I want to review one of the comments that were on that particular video, and it was from a viewer that didn't have a good experience with the DD15, and that's understandable. And I try to address his concerns, and I really enjoy when you guys give us feedback like this and give the channel feedback, because we get to learn more. I'm open to learning this. I'm open to all the comments you guys have. So what I was just giving him, some advice is what I would just ensure is a maintenance program is in place. So if you purchase a truck and you have an older truck and you're a driver and that doesn't have a lot of control over the maintenance on the truck, you can probably expect a little bit of breakdowns or more consistent breakdowns. And we've worked with a lot of different fleets in the DFW, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We've been servicing Dallas for a very long time. Since 2008, we've been servicing Dallas. So we've worked at a lot of different fleets, and a lot of different fleets, and worked together with shops as well. And so we see their practices when it comes to fleets and how preventive maintenance has helped them with downtime over the road and items like that. This is kind of why I always recommend, when it comes to servicing the DPF filter, that the updated cleaning process is not actually getting it baked anymore by your local shop that has the equipment or that's able to bake and blow it. That's not even acceptable for for a dealer, or not even a dealer, from the manufacturer's specs. It's not even acceptable for manufacturers' guidelines. And the reason why they set those guidelines is because they've seen the data. They analyze the data over time, and they see that this type of practice of cleaning the filter is not helping or prolonging the life of the one box system. So that's why not just the one box system, but even any after treatment system or ATS system that you work with, you're going to have to replace that DPF filter around the 450 to 500,000 mile mark. If you can do it at 400,000 miles, I would recommend that, because anytime after that, you just start to increase your chances of damaging the other parts of the system, which is not designed to wear. So you end up having to replace all the components. Shout out to everybody that's joined us this evening. What you guys think about that eclipse? That was crazy. We're here in Dallas, and honestly, I didn't know, and I honestly wish they would have warned people more. I wish they would have put more of announcements about warning people, maybe a week beforehand, maybe just real announcements, alarms. Hey, this is gonna happen at this time. It's going to get total darkness. It's gonna be nighttime. If you don't have to be on the road, don't be on the road. I can imagine how many accidents happen during that total darkness eclipse. If you were right in the path of the Earth's shadow, or I'm sorry, the moon's shadow, it was just pitch black. It was pitch black. I didn't know it was going to get that dark. It was very, very interesting to experience. I think that's the first time I've ever experienced a total darkness. Let me know where you guys were when that happened. If you were on the road, or did you see any accidents? I'm sure you see accidents with damn daylight. It can be daylight, dry, and there's accidents on the road. I don't know if it's everywhere in the United States, but I'm pretty sure it is. But in Texas, man, our speed limits are 70, and people they're trying to do 20 miles over the speed limit. They're trying to do that. Their piece of POS car is not even able to do it with a donut and a little, whatever it is, a Nissan or whatever they're in, and they're just going at it. I see the most dangerous vehicles on the road trying to do 20 miles over the speed limit. Like, relax. It's not that serious. Like, you're white knuckling it to go to wherever you're going to. You're really white knuckling it. I mean, Texas highways are just like a damn road derby rally. It seems like everyone is just like hanging out the side of their trucks or side of their vehicles, just heads out their window and just driving down using every piece of concrete. And it's crazy. It's crazy. I wish people would relax. Honestly, this is my take on. There's just too much damn democracy when it comes to people now, or people wanting to protect their rights. I understand people want to protect their rights, but there's too much democracy going on. Everyone is like cowboys and Indians out here, just hauling ass down the road, hanging out the side of their vehicles. It's and it was just, maybe it's just crazy. I was just checking out your guys' comments. Just crazy, man. Just crazy. I wish people would relax. Well, my take is this: when I say there's too much democracy, is when AI or whenever technology is advancing, but there's a lot of regulations that are being put in place, and it's always been that way with new technology. There's a lot of restrictions, and rightfully so. There should be restrictions when it comes to technology, but some, and to a limit, because just like California is kind of regulating herself out of business, we can do the same when it comes to technology. If we regulate ourselves with technology too much, and I'll move back on to common issues, but let me just get this off, is when you regulate technology too much, you kind of cripple it. You're not letting it grow as fast as it should be. And what I'm getting at is, what I would like to see is AI being able to detect how people are driving just by putting a chip in their driver's license, because we all have a driver's license. Now, this chip is going to be able to monitor real time how people are driving using GPS signals so that they can see how recklessly they're driving, how often they're doing it. And there should be an app, just like there's an app for every damn thing that's letting you, hey, giving you warnings. Hey, you're driving, this detected you driving like this, losing your privileges to drive. In turn, also tying that into being able to turn a vehicle on. So now they're not able to, whoever's driving recklessly like this is, now it's going to take less enforcement, but this is way in the future. I know that's way in the future, but let's get back to it. Not AJ, I appreciate you joining us. Let's move on to some other things. I know that I was ranting on about that. Yeah, I know. Don't get me started with advertising about trucks getting into an accident. It's like the damn lottery, man. They're doing it. It should be illegal, and it's going to be illegal one day for attorneys to stop advertising that way about trying to get rich off of it. All it's doing is just costing more money. It's costing us more money. It's costing everybody more money. Insurances have increased in the past few years. COVID didn't help because a lot of claims were paid. Natural disasters don't help as well. So when all those start combining and all these insurance companies are paying out all these claims, nobody's wanting to go to trial and fight for their right anymore. If anybody's been involved with litigation, it's all about settling. But it just doesn't make any sense sometimes, because even if there's valid arguments or there's valid reasons, you still, one attorney was like, I can file saying that you kicked me in the nuts, and now you have to prove that you didn't kick me in the nuts. And I'm like, what the fuck you talking about? Doesn't even make any damn sense. Let's go back to some repairs. Let's get off this. Let's get in some information, man. Get in some information. Lost AC sub compressor. Okay. This is another common fault that you're going to see. Since we're still talking about connections, this is perfect. Perfect. Let me know what you guys are watching from. If you got any questions, I'm going to get back to the questions here shortly. I'm going to get to the comments back shortly. Let me get them. If you want to highlight your comment, use Super Chat. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, if you're rolling through Interstate 20, going eastbound or westbound, you can check us out. We're on Bonneview Road in Dallas. Very accessible. We're not in downtown Dallas, so if you guys hear Dallas and you think we're in the city, no, we're the lower part of the city. So if you're Interstate 20, you're kind of just passing towards the bottom end, so you're not getting into the city congestion. And even though Interstate 20 is crazy, I would just recommend you get bumper guards. And we don't have any deers in Texas, so you don't really see that. It's mostly in Arkansas. I didn't tell you guys about when the story what I was telling you guys about in Missouri. Whenever I went to go pick up that truck in Missouri with Michael Howe, the deers stand on the edge of the road. If you're not a driver, those deer stand on the edge of the road at night. They're on the edge, the very edge of where the grass stops. In some places they don't have enough concrete all the way out. It's not like the city, it's country. There's narrow highways, and there's no guardrails to keep the deers away. They're just like, it's crazy. All right, let's move on to the next one. We got this is a common error that I see. Now this is a stability control from WABCO. Stability control is just kind of helps you, of course, keep the truck stable. If you're in a situation where the truck is losing control, it's reading all the different parameters, the pressure from the airbags, the the data from each wheel to kind of help you stabilize the truck. This is technology that's continuing to grow and grow. More and more, even with the modern trucks, we see this. But this one here has a steering signal error. So it's basically saying the stability control has an issue. And where we're getting here, when we look at errors like this, when we look at this DTC, which is a diagnostic trouble code, is what it's called, but for short, DTC. When we check these DTCs, we can see here what's common here is this canned data. You see this canned data, canned data, canned data. This can go back to what our question from who was that earlier? Alfredo, was that you earlier? Who was that? Yeah, from the question from Alfredo, this is going to be in line with the problem that you had when you said you replaced that sensor on that differential and it's still not getting the signal. So as you can see here, this canned data, what this canned data is basically the wiring harness that OEM, which is the manufacturers, installed in this truck. So when these trucks are manufactured, first you have the chassis come off the line. And it's a bare chassis with just, if you haven't seen a bare chassis, it's just metal beams together and wheels, or not even the wheels are on them yet. The axles are not even there. So when they bring these beam frames out before the axles are even installed, then they lace their, all these different parts. They're all in the assembly line. Later they lace all this data link, all wire it through the chassis. And then they start installing everything else. They install the rest of the truck. They drop the engine in. They put the axles on. And so the truck is assembled after the main data link backbone, which is what they would call it. It's like the backbone data link of the whole truck. So this is why we get a lot of errors on these particular trucks, or all of them. This is a common problem. So when we pull these codes up, we check the counts. This is the next item that we do is we would check the counts to verify. Sometimes you would have inactive codes. As you can see, only one is showing active, but these are showing stored. So that's showing the ECM has stored these additional faults as well. And we can see how many times. So I would definitely troubleshoot these as well and include this with the active one as well. These are all troubleshootable items. A lot of troubleshooting literature is going to tell you to look for inactive, high count, inactive codes. So, and this is not only with stability, WABCO, but this is also going to be with any kind of troubleshooting procedures. So as you can see here, 20 counts, 49 counts on this one, and then 80 or 98 counts on all of them. But as I mentioned before, look at the similarity with these particular codes. It's canned data, canned data, canned data. Even the one that's one counts canned data. That's basically giving you the whole. The one that's actually giving you only a one count is the one that you need to be looking at. Now this is SAE J1939 is the vehicle can harness. That's the one. This is what they label most of the main data backbone data link on all semi trucks, or mostly all vehicles. They're gonna call it J19. This is just the name of the highway that they produce, of highway of wires that they put on your truck. So what happened in this particular case? So in this case, we're not going to go and change the sensor. We're not going to change parts. We're not going to swap parts. We know that parts could be a problem. We could be our problem, but we want to verify. So that's going to take some troubleshooting and investigating. So we look into, this is just more descriptions on the codes here. Basically just giving us the repair information is follow the actual inline calibration. But what we found when we try to run calibration, because basically what it's telling us is this particular code is steering wheel alignment. Steering wheel angle sensor is basically saying that something's out of a line, that the steering wheel is out of a line. So the proper way to fix this, if this is an active fault that's not a communication fault, is realigning, and it's just running an alignment through this particular software. This is why I continue to mention how if we're working on a stability control system, it's produced by Wabco. So then we would buy this, of course, from the manufacturer, or this software troubleshooting. And yeah, it does stack up if you don't service these often, but this is what it costs if you want to service these correctly. Because what I mentioned is, okay, if this was an active code and it wasn't a data link issue, then we would just recalibrate this, but it failed. The recalibration failed. The steps took it into testing connections and ensuring that this data can link. And look what we found is an issue in the cable. Now, this happens with water getting into these plugs. You can see how when this happens, when this types of issues happen, you're going to get definitely problems. You're going to get electrical problems. You're going to get check engine lights. And what's very common about this is this data link is installed on all trucks pretty much the same way. So whenever you're having data link problems, it's very common. This is a very common problem. These data link problems can turn up. Did I get a freeze? Am I frozen? Let me see what's going on here. Looks like I've froze. I don't know why it's frozen like this, but I can still move around over here. Let me move over to back to this screen. I don't know what's going on with my live feed there. I can still see you guys coming in, but for some reason the camera stopped moving around. Let me get some stuff back online real quick, guys. Excuse me. Now, at this display, it's not letting me do anything there. For some reason, I'm staying froze, guys. Let me see if I can finish up this live by going over the rest of the next item I wanted to talk about here is trailer suspension. This is going to be the last item I discuss. I don't know what's going on with my video. Froze up from my stream. So if you guys still can hear me and everything is going well, I'm going to keep on moving. For some reason, the live feed's not working right. Exit 472, then south on Langdon Road. Appreciate you giving out those directions. Insurance companies already have that app. Yeah, I know. Are you talking about the tracking the drivers? Yeah, but they don't do it for people that actually are driving recklessly. So the next item I'm going to discuss, yeah, they don't have I appreciate you circling back to that. We got some suspension work that I'm going to discuss next. This is an older style trailer on a tanker. So if you guys are working out there with trailers, dumps, any construction equipment, we can give you a hand. This particular truck or trailer, here's the after pictures. Trailers can be tricky if you're pulling a heavy load and it's dogtailing or doglegging. It's kind of just what the correct term would be, not directly behind you. If it's not directly behind you and it's off to the side, that definitely has some issue. Definitely could find an issue. Hey, I apologize about this video freezing up, but I'm going to try. We're going to get through this. Going to make it through it. Here's the brakes on this, and this is a tanker. This is a tanker. Can somebody tell someone might not be doing preventive maintenance? I'm running an ad, Facebook ad, just kind of about brake maintenance, and it's about brake fade. This is not brake fade. It looks like the brake got hung up and just bad quality brakes and just all come apart. I don't even know what brand these are. Even if they are quality brands, they may be just way too long. Here's the bushing in the center. This would be another insight on if you're watching this and you drive cars. Be careful. Don't get too close to semis. It could be an impatient driver. Also, their suspension can be wrecked like this. And I'm still froze up over here. I don't know why I'm froze up. We're going to keep it going on this suspension over here. Apologize for today's broadcast, but we're going to figure out why I got froze up. And then I'm going to circle back to y'all's questions. Still getting all the chats coming in. Chat's still coming in strong. Appreciate everybody that's still on with us. Oh, there is plenty of deer in Texas. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm not the one. I'm not driving. I don't have a lot of experience. So, Earl, appreciate you letting us know. So, if you are driving in the evenings or at night and you're driving these dark Texas roads, make sure to put some of those whistlers on. It's kind of like you don't really hear it, but it's to keep the deer, scare the deers away. Because if you hit a deer, it's gonna tear some stuff up. It's gonna be a mess. And when you got brakes like this, look at this. Shout out to everybody that keeps up with their preventive maintenance. Don't let your brakes get like this. Don't be like this. Look at this. This is locking up. This is locking up. This is going to lock up when you hit your brakes. If you apply your brakes too hard, it's going to lock up, and it's going to make a flat spot in your trailer tires. Two of them, a pair of them at once. And once you get a flat spot like that, it's just going to it's going to throw that whole tire off balance, because now you got double flat spot, and you're not going to feel it often because it's way in the very back of the trailer. But definitely replace these, and also I would recommend doing the drums as well. A lot of times you're only going to get, and this is probably bad cheap brake material, But when you're doing brake service, replace the drums. If you got if you got you know some brakes, if you got some brakes already replaced, and this is just, I would only recommend replacing the brakes one time on a set of drums. After that, replace the drums. They get very hot, they warp, they cause problems. Put in new brake shoes is not the solution. We do rebushing. That's what this is. This is rebushing here. And we do it on Hendrickson as well. This is just an older trailer. We do it on Hendrickson as well. Hit us up, 972-225-3017. We're located off of 4140 Langdon Road. Shout out to Juan for giving the exit number. If you're coming through Interstate 20 eastbound or westbound, we're on exit 472. Then you go south to Langdon Road. That's the quickest route. Thank you, Juan. Exit 472, then south on Langdon Road off of Interstate 20. That should help you find us if you're coming through Dallas, if you're passing through Dallas. Yeah, this is Bushings, and we do Hendrickson as well. Back to these brakes. Don't get to these brakes. Do your pre-chips and also do your quarterly and yearly inspections so your brakes don't get like this. I appreciate everybody's comments that's still coming through. Honda says, you're in Vietnam and you love semi trucks and United started. Okay. Yeah. I had a comment on the video that I released recently about the DD15 and how, they were, oh, that's a Mercedes rebadge. Now, I'm not denying that. I'm not denying it. Detroit pretty much threw the towel in whenever all the emissions and everything started to get really strict. And Mercedes were looking to move into the heavy duty market as well because they saw, of course, they just wanted to gain more market. So they saw the opportunity to buy Detroit, and they did. Daimler bought Detroit, and of course they designed the DD15, which is their first Class 8 diesel engine. But Mercedes has been around for a really long time. Mercedes has been doing engines. I mean, hell, they do F1 cars, and most of the Mercedes engines on the road are pretty stout engines. If you're into AMG, if you're into just their performance, they're very, very solid, and a lot of technology that goes into. So when you have somebody that's creating an engine, I mean, these will probably be the best ones. And I don't know what happened with Cummins. Like, Cummins were pretty stout. Everything was kind of even before pre-emissions when the 60 series was dominating. That's whenever a lot of these trucks were pretty even. Nowadays that's why I did the video on the DD15. If somebody is in the market for a new truck, this is the one I would go to, just because you don't want to get into something too crazy. I mean, owning a truck is expensive. So if you're owning a truck and you want the best, and you want the best opportunity to be successful, you want to get something that maintenance is not going to be that much. And I'm not saying you're not going to get maintenance on a DD15. You are going to get maintenance, but those are going to be one of the most. And if you're going with a modern engine, that one's going to be the most easiest one to maintain. Shout out to everybody that's still with us. I may wrap some stuff up. I don't got video right, and I got most of the things I wanted to discuss. The last couple of things I wanted to discuss, but I want it to be live. But my image, for some reason, my camera's froze up. Let me see if I can get it back online again. Pour some coffee on it. Do we weld differentials? No, Frankie. If a differential's cracked, I mean, we if it's just a light crack, yes. I'm sorry, we do. For some reason, I'm thinking it's like bent, but if it's a crack, light crack, we can weld it. Yes. All right. Looks like I'm back on. Focus is a little off. All right. Boom. We're back on. We're back on. Welcome back. Got the video back on. Okay. Appreciate everybody that's still with us. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. So, we talked about a few repairs. I wanted to take some more questions, and I also wanted to talk about a little bit of the market update. I know I didn't want to one of the broadcasts that I had not too long ago, I talked about how the United States is working to become the United States, along with Mexico, with nearshoring. If you're not familiar with nearshoring, if you're not familiar with nearshoring, it's basically just reversing all the offshoring, which is when they send everything overseas, manufacturing wise. Now they're bringing everything to Mexico. And with the nearshoring, this is helping the United States, of course, and Canada to move everything closer. So what's going to end up happening, let me get to some of these questions. I don't mean to be going back and forth, but I was wanting to talk about that because there wasn't too many questions coming in. But let me try to get back to these questions. I am at 700,000. Oh, let me go back here. Wow. I didn't see all these. Jeffrey, I answered that question. Typical life expectancy of a DD15. I answered that one. AJ said he couldn't stick around, but he said he appreciated my videos. Looking forward to future uploads. I got some more videos coming out. Got some more videos. I got 2 videos in production right now. Shout out to everybody that's following us. Hit that like, subscribe, share my information, share our channel. Anybody that is in need of service, hit us up on Super Chat if you want to get your question highlighted. But I'm going through the questions now. Jose Hernandez has some feedback or some insight for you, Alfredo. He says, actually, this is something else. My issue is with the coolant sensor leveling harness voltage fluctuating between 2 to 5 volts. Any idea what it is? Jose, did you see those pictures that I had just shared about that coolant? Before I had all these technical difficulties, I had this, one of the first ones that I shared was about the connections. Let me go back to that. Lost connections. It's possible. It's the harness, man. You're gonna have to troubleshoot the harness. And even with that steering stability error, that was one as well. So if your voltage is fluctuating, Jose's question is that he has a coolant level sensor. And what sucks about a coolant level sensor is that a coolant level sensor is going to shut you down. So if you are losing signal to your coolant level sensor, which, thank you for asking this question, Jose. This is definitely a common problem. When you're having this type of communication issue from the ECM is going to shut the truck down because it thinks that your coolant level is low. So to protect the engine, it's going to shut that engine down. So I appreciate you sharing that, Jose. What was your solution? Did you find a solution? It could be the pigtail that I just shared with you, the connection pigtail. But before replacing any parts, make sure to troubleshoot it. Edward West, where was that at? Was that at our shop? You said you got batteries replaced. Because you're saying Francisco. We have a Francisco at our shop as well. He's the one who runs the show. If shout out to Francisco. If you guys have ever dealt with Francisco, not the one that has the YouTube channel, but we have a Francisco as well. Shout out to Juan. He says 2018 DD15 constantly gets a mill light on, especially when city driving, and then leads to codes dealing with regeneration issues. Then when a long road issue resolves and lights go out. That sounds like okay, so if it's a 2018, Juan is saying that he has a code that comes up, the mill light comes up, and when he's city driving compared to long road driving. So what that sounds like to me, it is going to be an after treatment problem. What would be helpful, Jose, is to pull the codes to get a description of the code. If the description of the code is going to be after treatment related, then what's happening is, of course, that city driving is creating more soot and causing you to have a check engine and requesting a regeneration, where a regeneration on the road is just burning the excessive ash. If the DPF filter has not been replaced at 400,000 miles, 500,000 miles, and that's replaced, not clean, not baked and blown, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, that's not an acceptable form of cleaning when you follow procedures from the manufacturers, which is all data driven and all analyzed by reinstalling filters that's been baked and blown and realizing that there's still issues. So if you do have a filter that's past 400,000 miles and if you're not staying within optimal duty cycles, which is not idling and stuff like that, I would definitely get that after treatment checked out. You could probably verify it whenever you get to a shop. They can do a regen and kind of check your parameters to see if it is the filter. It could be something else going on as well. I am just kind of going by the filter just because when you're describing how the faults are coming up, to me it sounds like it's possible that it could be the filter if it hasn't been replaced. When we have after treatment problems like this come to our shop, which is common problems, thank you for your question, those are one of the first questions that we ask is, what is the maintenance history on this truck? This is why I preach so much about preventive maintenance and maintenance, because once maintenance has been skipped, preventive maintenance has been skipped, whether it's valve adjustments, whether it's replacing the filter at 400,000 miles, whether it's not following optimal duty cycle by idling excessive, then problems are going to just accumulate and cause just a handful of problems compared to just replacing a filter and some gaskets and doing some resets. But I appreciate that. If you'd like to give me some more insight, Juan, let me know. I'd like to know mileage and maintenance history. But that definitely sounds like a after treatment problem, especially since how you're describing the light coming on and off. I am literally your virtual technician this evening, so if you got any questions, let me know. Would low freon issue cause it to stop working, even the blower? No. The blower is ran electrically by the cab. So even if your AC goes out, your blower should still blow unless you have a controller problem in the controller. So if your compressor's not kicking on, it's possible that you may be having some other issues. Could be an electrical connection. As I mentioned earlier, Alfredo had a question about his AC system. When I was talking about AC systems, he said, would the AC free or would the low freon cause his blower to stop working? And it would not cause that to stop working. I would not just add freon. Definitely get it looked at, because it could be some electrical problems, and what you don't want to do is turn around and just add more freon, because as I mentioned before, these AC systems are designed to run off a certain capacity of freon. So overfilling it is kind of like overfilling the oil in an engine. You're going to cause damage. You're going to cause damage to the system, and you're going to cause it not to work properly. So no, it wouldn't stop a blower. Earl says he's coming in from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, watching from Indiana. Shout out to Baton Rouge. I was stationed in Biloxi, Mississippi, down by Louisiana. Actually, it was Biloxi. It might have been. Is it? I was stationed in Biloxi down there, and when I was in the Air Force as a young buck, I was probably 19 years old, maybe 18, 19 years old, and I was going through technical school down there. So shout out to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, down in the Cajun area. Very very cultural area. I really enjoyed that area. The food was really good. I went down to Mardi Gras one time. I wasn't a big fan. Mardi Gras smelled like horse shit and piss. So I don't know why people like that place so much. I mean, I know that their culture's there or whatever, but it gets so packed. I'm gonna tell you, when I was in the military, we used to drive down to when I was in Biloxi, Mississippi, we used to drive down to Mardi Gras when it was Mardi Gras, to Louisiana. It wasn't far, and it's so packed in that area. And like I said, it smells like horse manure, because the cops are enforcing that area on horses. And so there's horse manure everywhere. People are urinating just right, in the streets, and alcohol. I mean, it's just a bunch of drunks in a crowded area. And I remember I was there with a group of military buddies, and we were just kind of walking through the crowd, and this dude, like, everyone kind of like gets like around us kind of like gets a little bit of hysterical, and we're kind of trying to figure the situation out. This guy is like not too far from us is just fell on the ground, just got stabbed, and we were like, what the hell? And everyone's like freaking out, and then just going about their business, back to party, and this guy just got stabbed just a few feet away from us. I think he just got an attempted robbery that just happened close to us. Very dangerous area. Definitely don't go down there without a group of people, at least a couple of people. But shout out, I appreciate you hollering at us. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Mississippi, those ports are hot right now. The ports in those areas, I was reading some data, and it was volume-based data of tonnage coming out of that area, of the southern ports of that area. And the amount of increase that's happened in the past couple years, as I mentioned, if you follow my broadcasts, you know that I've mentioned that the pandemic has changed, and a lot of the different trade relationships and their conflicts have changed. A lot of different trade practices and different routes have opened up. One of the ones that benefited the most, or not the most, but has benefited besides natural gas, is resin. I didn't know that resin, which is what PVC pipes are made out of, what PVC is made out of. I didn't know that resin was such a high item that we export. And since the trade defects had changed the trade routes or whatever you want to call it, that's increased a lot out there. So shout out to, like to see this movement. And Earl's probably moving some stuff out there. Or if not, if you're up north, I don't know, maybe you're bringing it down. Appreciate that. Appreciate you joining us, Alfredo. Earl, what's going on? Josh says, what's up, man? Loves my videos from California. Works for UPS as a diesel tech. I appreciate you joining us, man. Hope my information is useful to you. Thank you for joining us, Josh. UPS is strong, man. I heard they, was it UPS? I think UPS maybe lost or gained United Postal Service's work. I want to say they gained it. I think the United Postal Service fired UPS or fired FedEx and hired UPS. Or if I got it backwards, let me know. One of the two. But UPS, I heard they're really smart. You know, not all trucking companies were how you say shielded or protected by the downturn that we've experienced in the past 2 years. What I've noticed across the board with corporations is they shed a lot. They shedded a lot of excess fat when it comes to expenses, and UPS did the same. UPS is a very strong company, but they shed a division, and they cut down a lot on drivers. They made big cuts. Large cuts. So, shout out to UPS and Josh. I'm glad you are part of the working force that's helping us rebuild America, because we're not even at our peak yet. As America, we're not even at our peak yet. I think we're just now realizing how important it is for us to become an independent, strong country. And the tables have turned when it comes to trades, where a lot of the white-collar jobs were highly sought. Now the blue-collar jobs, where there is not a lot of experience in these particular fields, whatever trade it is, drivers, whatever the trade it is limited. And I mentioned drivers because I know that the driver pool is very large right now, but as the shifts change with the nearshoring, and then in the coming up future is gonna be there's a lot of changes that are gonna happen. And I wanted to mention that as well today, which was the population shift that's going on. And it's really interesting because if I don't want to get off subject, so let me keep going on these comments. Missouri's in the house. What's up? I think you already checked in. I have a 2017 Earls with your questions that checked in from Baton Rouge or from Louisiana. I have a 2017 DD13 with 1.2 miles on it. Wow. Hey, comment on my video that I just released about the 5 reasons why the DD15 is reliable. You can be another testimonial of the DD15 or DD13, same engine. Kevin says, I'm at 700K on my Volvo D13 running strong. Sounds good. Keep up with that maintenance. D13s are good, man. The only thing I notice with D13s is the fuel system starts getting a little wonky. Gets a little faulty, I should say. Sorry for using my daughter's third grade language. But Volvos are good, but their fuel systems are faulty after a certain amount. You eventually you're going to have to replace the fuel filter housing, injector cups, and injectors. But this is mostly on all engines. High mileage engines, if you look into literature, they're going to tell you that these injectors are not designed to last forever. Earl was letting me know he was Indiana. So you're from Baton Rouge and you're watching in Indiana. So I guess you're just moving from Baton Rouge to Indiana, or you're just from Indiana and what route you're or what area are you running. I appreciate you joining us. Yeah. I think someone, Alfredo, were you commenting on the ellipse when I was talking about the ellipse? I talked about the eclipse. Sorry, the eclipse. Yeah, it was a little scary. It was scary. I got a little bit. I mean, I wasn't like freak. I didn't know it was gonna get that dark. It got dark, and it made me look into LRADs because I went outside and I did hear some people kind of like yelling, kind of trying to like be scary. And in Texas, I mean, everybody's just armed in this area. But it made me look into LRADs because LRADs is a man, it's very interesting, man, because yeah, the eclipse was very, very, very crazy, man. I never so LRADs because when I went outside and it was dark, I went out there and then I heard like some loud noises and they were like sound like they were trying to scare people. And it made me interested because I guess certain loud noises can startle people. So when I looked at LRADs, it's called long range acoustic devices. These are basically like sound cannons, and they're used for breaking up riots. But these types of frequencies of this acoustic that it produces can make people pretty much nauseous, dizzy, and I thought that was a very interesting. Of course, you can't buy LRADs. LRADs are only made for law enforcement and military. There are some like BS LRADs out there, but it would be interesting to be able to have an LRAD because you'll be able to use non-lethal force in a, situation. Appreciate everybody that's joined us. But yeah, it was a bit scary. I think a lot of people were freaked out. I saw a clip talking about the eclipse that just happened. And right now, probably look back on this video a decade from now, I'll still be alive watching this as a young buck, looking at myself as a young buck. And this is April 9th, 2024. Yeah, that eclipse was total darkness. Total darkness. And it was funny because the day before I saw a clip, and I'll try not to describe clips because it just descriptions of clips is just kind of without having the actual clip is a little silly, but it just kind of showed a remake of what maybe the humans thought back in the day when that happened before we had everything that we have now, back in the days where we were just kind of wearing animal skin and living in tents and stuff like that. And even now, you can see the emotional response to some of the people that posted videos. There were people crying, praying. I mean, it was pretty scary. I mean, it was odd. I didn't know it was gonna be that way, but yeah. I think Juan is following up with a comment that he made earlier about his city driving meal light coming on. So he said he did replace his filters about 600,000 miles, and shortly after I replaced the output sensor I'm still having those issues come back. The motor is running sweet. Juan, could you give me a description of the code? If you're in the area, because I see that you kind of repeated our address. If you're in the area, we'll be more than happy to help you out. We can give you a code readout. Having the code readout, if you've already had the filters replaced, and say, for example, now you had the NOx sensor replaced, so you're probably having a low NOx efficiency fault. We would ensure that you don't have like a lot of buildup of soot in your EGR cooler or any of your sensors on the engine are built up with soot. We'll check your differential pressure sensors to make sure everything's reading correctly. Like I said, a code readout would be very useful because that's going to give us where to look at. It's kind of It's basically without trying to guess. That's why all this information is pretty useful. I'm sorry, Earl. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your name right, but he said most billboards are advertising accidents involving big trucks. I think I covered that comment, but I'm just kind of reviewing. But yeah, that does suck. What's next? Chip and driver's license. What's next? Stick to trucks, guys. I know. I know. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off the subject, man. But Robert Lewis, I appreciate you commenting on us. But man, if something has to be done, maybe some patrolling, better patrolling for these cars. That if you got fucking if you got two or three dents on the fucking car, that car should be pulled over. If you got big ass dents all over your vehicle, man, that you need to get pulled over and checked out, man. Cause gosh dang, what more are they asking for? I mean, you got cars that have beat up on a donut doing 90 in the fast lane. We got a Cummins LBS in a bus with fault code 0559. It has 800 psi's when cranking and it won't start up without ether. The whole fuel system has been replaced. Any ideas? All right. With that code, oh, did I lose my spot? Oh my goodness. Oh, here you are. All right. Let's look this code up. Let's get off the LRADs and talk about some fucking diesel trucks. He's got a LBS, which is I want to say that's a light duty, not to offend nobody. Since I don't have the serial number, let me look up by the model number. So you have a Cummins LBS, LSB, sorry, ISB. I'm going to get it right someday. Sorry. What year? Year model here. Well, you got a year model? You got a year model, Andrew? No year model. All right, I'm going to go with the basic one here. All right, the code is here. Let's see what we can find for you. We got a fault code. He changed out the whole fuel system. This is why it's important. I mean, shout out to trying to figure it out, but without access to the right information, you're going to have issues. All right. So, guys, before we get into this code, I just want to let you know I don't have the truck physically. All right. I don't have the truck with me. I don't hear it. I don't see it. Andrew has the question about a Cummins ISB bus with the fault code 0559. It has 800 psi's of cranking, but it won't start without ether. I wonder what mileage is. I mean, I would like to have, it would be nice to have more information when troubleshooting something. All right, but let's go. Let's see what it comes up with. I'll show you what we got here. And then we'll just review it together. We'll review it together. I was trying to see if you answered. All right. So we got this code, and this code is injector meeting rail 1 pressure. Data valid but below normal operating range. Moderately severe. The engine control module has detected that fuel pressure is lower than command pressure. Possible hard start, no start. Engine could be no start. Okay, so you said you have 800 psi. whenever you look at these types of codes, what it's given us here, let me see if I can adjust this. Oh. All right. Let's see how much I got left in me. It's the end of the day. It's 9:30. I've already probably helped troubleshoot a handful of items already today, so don't. I could be a little rusty. All right, so the pressure control loop relies on fuel pressure supplied to the high pressure pump by the fuel gear pump. The ECM monitors fuel real pressure. Is basically it's describing you what's going on. Now seems like a light duty application. We're mostly heavy duty, but we can work with these as well. And I'm going to show you how. The ECM monitors rail pressure, engine operating condition, changes flow command, maintaining proper rail pressure. Changes in flow command resulting in opening or closing. Okay, so if we have, he says he has enough pressure. The ECM has detected it. The measured fuel rail pressure is below the commanded rail pressure by at least. You're low. Okay, so if you look at this particular statement, your pressure is still low because the ECM, let me see if I can zoom in on this. All right, let me see. That way you don't have to use your magnifying glass or get bifocals and you're still in your 30s or 20s. So the ECM has detected the measured fuel rail pressure is below the commanded fuel rail pressure by at least 250 bars for 7 seconds. Now, is this saying this how much fuel pressure it needs to actually start? So if I don't think 800, I don't think 800's enough. It could be you're saying you have 800. Are you reading 800 on the computer? Is the computer registering 800? So a lot of this information here, we won't go over everything, but this is just, it's good to examine all this because it gives you kind of like some ideas of what it can be. You could have air. To me, it's possibly you've already replaced the whole fuel system. Is it bled right? Okay, so it's check for other fault codes. Say for example, there's no other fault codes. Check for fault code 559. Is this our fault code 559? I didn't write it down. Boom. I know I highlighted it. 559. There it is. 559. Active, inactive. Yes. Check for adequate fuel supply. Do not rely on vehicle fuel gauge. Verify fuel tanks and check fuel suction. Check the vehicle and the fuel gauge. Is the vehicle equipped with adequate fuel? We'll say yes. Turn and operate the engine. Do not operate. If the engine will start, make certain the engine is in operating temperature before performing tests. Perform the low pressure system test. Use the following procedures. Service engine passes a low pressure test. So now we got low pressure tests. This low pressure test is gonna basically just give us a rundown on how we're supposed to set up this fuel pressure test. Now what we're going to be doing is tying into the fuel system to see what type of low pressure we have. So in this particular test, what we're going to be doing is testing the fuel pressure. Manually testing the fuel pressure. All right, I don't want to show you too much of this just because I don't want you cracking fuel lines open and you cut yourself because of this fuel spray towards the engine. what's it's doing here, you're checking for fuel if fuel's even going to the rail. You're depressurizing it. So what I would recommend is, this is what I would recommend, Andrew. Thank you. I appreciate your question. Um, Let me see here. What happened to our screen? There we are. So what I would suggest you do, Andrew, is, as you can see, there's multiple things that we need to check out for. It's going to be difficult to sit here and give you exact. Replacing all the parts is good. Okay, you already replaced all the parts, so it's possible it could not be the fuel system. So a lot of these tests could possibly pass, and it could be an electrical problem. It could be an issue with the injector if you didn't replace the injectors. It could be a fuel supply issue where you're getting aerated fuel, or you're not getting enough fuel. As you can see, there's things that they have you check just to ensure you don't overlook anything. It's possible now, and I kind of skimmed over it because I didn't want to just sit here and read word for word, but a lot of times when we troubleshoot this, we have to read it word for word because we don't want to overlook anything. Overlooking a troubleshooting procedure can give you a higher chance of a incorrect diagnostic. So you definitely want to be as accurate as possible, because if, for example, if this vehicle came to our shop, we try not to have to replace all the components if it doesn't need to. I'm not saying yours didn't need to, but it's just challenging to replace customers' parts, and we still have existing issues, although it does happen. It does happen, especially with these high-pressure fuel systems. These high-pressure fuel systems can get contaminated, and the whole system needs to be replaced, not just one injector or not just a fuel pump. So I understand, but what I would recommend is these types of troubleshooting steps are very critical, because the procedures are very outlined so that we don't have a diagnostic that is incorrect, because we don't want to play with people's time. We do ask for a window of time whenever we are troubleshooting these types of faults, and whenever you include the information that you include when it comes to what repairs that you had done, just the prior history of repairs can help us better determine what's going on and not have to do any rework. But I appreciate that question. That was a really, really good question. I'm sorry I didn't have an exact answer for you, but as you can see, there's quite a bit of things that need to be checked to ensure that your truck is turning on correctly. But I appreciate that question, Andrew. Shout out to Andrew. Juan says exit 472 and in south on Langdon Road. Yes, sir. If you're looking for a service in the DFW area, Express Professional Service, diagnostic repair, light duty, medium duty. We also service RV. We're coming into the warmer season, so if you need AC service as well, give us a shout, 972-225-3017. We're off of Interstate 20, whether you're coming eastbound or southbound through Dallas. You're not going to be going in through the downtown area. We're south of Dallas, exit 472. Very convenient, close to truck stops, close to warehouses. You might be delivering close to our area. We're very truck friendly, There's the big highways, big service roads, large intersections. There's fuel stations just north of us. Our parts houses are very close so that we can offer you this type of service. So if you're interested, give us a shout, 972-225-3017. Robert Lewis says, so they run the new DD16 on an engine stand and it runs just fine. No emissions or electronics. So why does it need emissions crap? Well, I don't understand your question. The DD16 is running on an engine stand, I guess, to test. You're testing the torque or testing the flywheel horse brake power. But anytime anything gets put in the truck, they're going to require it to meet whenever that truck was manufactured, whatever date it was manufactured has to meet the carbs. And a lot of the big manufacturers have already been down that road. Detroit had to pay enormous amount of money because they had a storage of three quarter engines, which is basically the block and all the internals, except for the head and everything above the piston above the pistons is basically just a block with all your pistons, your crank, your mains, everything's assembled. So they had a bunch of Series 60 in a warehouse, and later on decided to finish producing those and putting them into trucks, and they end up getting fined for it because the engines that they put into those trucks had stricter carb regulations than those Series 60s were when those Series 60s were built. So they had to pay a lot of money. So appreciate that comment though. But I mean, anything on a highway is going to ask for emissions. And I know I'm not here to advocate for emissions control. I'm not the one who started emissions control. We just work on them and understand them and try to do our best to share with you guys information to avoid a lot of repairs and to avoid repeating repairs. But I appreciate you. I appreciate your feedback. Earl says there are a lot of deer. He hit a deer in Brownwood. Yeah, off of one. Okay, so I said earlier there was no deer, but be careful out there with the deers. What are you guys doing to avoid hitting those deers? Because we're talking about common problems with semis, common issues with semis. I'm pretty sure hitting stuff on the road is pretty common. How do you find a diesel mechanic that has experience doing a lot of valve adjustment jobs? I've heard some drivers' horror stories after their valve adjustment jobs. Like, well, checking their credentials. I mean, checking their credentials. I can tell you at our shop, we have access to all the procedures, and we ensure all procedures are being followed. It's part of our process of working on trucks, and it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work to try to stay on top of everything that's coming in, but we've created kind of systems that help us monitor these things. We do constant inspections, and we do quality control inspection at the end of our repairs as well. So just researching and finding out. If you're in the DFW area, we'll be more than happy to help you. I have a Max Force. I got another question here that says, I have a Max Force 13 and a 2013 Pro Star. I've been running it for 8 years straight. Good job, man. Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations. Because the Max Force is a tough engine. I mean, Max Force 13, they don't have a good reputation, but you're just proof that some of them do make it. Sorry if I'm looking like I'm running on a low tank, but we're going to keep moving. I keep on moving along, try to get to all these questions. We do rebushing suspensions on utility trailers. Great shop. Got engine valve adjustment, PM done, least amount of downtime. Appreciate it. Appreciate the shout out, man. We do well differentials, Frankie. So a lot of people say an overhaul is a risk on a DD15 and it don't last after an overhaul. What would you say the percentage of the chance of overhaul is actually going to last? Well, it depends on what type of damage. So if you have a spun bearing and it's not a main on the main journal, then it's definitely rebuildable. I did a video on this. But if you do have a spun bearing, then it's not rebuildable. The DD15 is pretty delicate engine. If it comes to like major damage, like low oil pressure, oil contamination ran too long. I had a valve adjustment done years ago on my old engine. I honestly think they didn't touch it, but definitely charged me some money. Well, with preventive maintenance, if your valves weren't that big, like they weren't bad out of adjustment, then you won't notice a difference, and you don't want to wait until you start noticing. You want to notice. You don't want to wait till you notice a difference. So they probably did do your valve adjustments, and that's why we take photos every time we do valve adjustments when it comes to ensuring procedures are done correctly. And we also want to ensure everything was torqued correctly. So we mark everything and we record it to ensure everything's done properly and that there's nothing overlooked. I have this one that is cracked. He says he has a differential that's cracked somewhere, but only way to find out is removing it. So Frankie, when you asked me if we weld differentials originally, I said no because I knew the amount of work it's probably going to take to find it. If it's in a bad area, if it's in a high stress area, there is a document that we review, and it basically gives us a kind of like a guideline for repairing it, if it's repairable or not. So if it is repairable, then we'll definitely do it. But if it's like you're saying you're having to replace the differential or remove the differential, then it might be better off replacing the differential, because what you don't want to do is put that back together and you have still problems going on. It's very annoying. I'm trying to adjust this chat because on my display it's not that, can't even read it. I need to appreciate everybody that's joined us this evening. Getting a little tired here. What do you think about the new regulations, clean truck in California? Well, I honestly feel like California is going to regulate themselves out of business. And you can tell because if you read some of the articles, they've already pushed some of the regulations back further and further. They push regulations back further and further because they know that it's almost impossible it's not going to be possible for a lot of people to meet. The big shops seem to replace the whole engine. They don't usually rebuild them. I've noticed with all in-house engines, honestly. So if the customer wants to replace the whole engine, it's possible, but there are guidelines for reusing parts, and Detroit has it all outlined in their cylinder failure guide kit. There are guidelines for inspecting and reusing. So the engine is rebuildable, but you just have to have someone with experience, and you have to have a clean environment, and you have to have the equipment to be able to do a successful build. We've done a lot of successful builds. So they're not, some of them will need to be swapped just like any other engine when they hit their end of their life. Not all the time they're in rebuildable conditions, depending on the block, but DD15s can be rebuilt. Hopefully it stays in California. The regulations, we don't know. I'm a new heavy duty tech working on transit city buses in Los Angeles. Well, welcome. Cummins CNG LP9 or L9N. Is Texas a good market for heavy duty mechanics? Well, I'm going to tell you that we're still kind of bouncing at the bottom when it comes to volume. So finding a job in this market could be challenging because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of competition. So I would say no, not right now. I believe they are trying to pass it in other states too. It does suck. They will. Soot level, smooth level 5 can do that. Okay. I don't know what you mean by that, Frankie. Yeah. I have some feedback here from Pro Fleet Solutions in the comment section. Thank you for joining us, Pro Fleets. He says probably eating more soot driving or creating more soot driving in the city, just like excessive idling, hydrocarbon absorption, warning light. It's probably why it's pretty important to find out what that code is reading. If not, we can kind of speculate what it is. Yes, I had the filters replaced at 596. Are you the same one with the DPF still coming on? Yep. If you got to replace at 559 and it's your DPF and you're still having that type of problem, it's possible. And I'm not saying hey, this is the problem, but it's possible that you might have a one box problem. But without reading the codes and troubleshooting, I couldn't tell you. I had my filter at the DOC baked and blown at 400K miles for $500 at a radiator shop. Now, I don't recommend that. Customer or a viewer here says that he had his baked and blown at a radiator shop for $500. I don't recommend that because, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the data that's been analyzed by the manufacturers are saying that it's not acceptable to get those baked and blown because it's not thoroughly cleaning out the soot that's compact in there. So now they have dealer filters that are ready to go like new. Alfredo says he's got another code on the ABS. If it's connected into the same data link, it's possible you have issues with data link. Earl says their food is the best. I appreciate you joining us, Earl, and you reminded me. I mean, the Cajun down there, I never even knew Cajun was a thing, but Cajun is a thing. Like they said, I talked a little Cajun, but there were some guys out there that talked, people out there that you couldn't even understand how the thickness of Cajun that they had. It's crazy. Did I freeze up again? I sure did. Well, guys, I don't know what's going on while my camera keeps freezing up over here. Let me see if I can get on. At least I'm not looking too crazy. You see how it disappeared like that? It's magic. Baya. Back on. I don't know why my camera's turning or freezing like that. Maybe you guys are just blowing the chat up. And this chat is nothing compared to, I mean, this chat. Well, I mean, I appreciate everybody that's joined us. There's a lot of reading still. He said, Earl says their food is the best, and my comment was about how their culture is down there. It's pretty funny. If Bobby Boucher on Waterboy, one of that guy was mumbling and talking. That's kind of Cajun. That's like a Cajun accent. I was stationed in Fort Hood. Oh man, I heard about that place. Well, thank you for your service. I know a lot of times when people thank me, I kind of tell them that I don't really deserve it because I feel like there's more. There's other soldiers that committed a lot or sacrificed a lot more than I did. When I first joined, I was ready. As a as a young buck, you're kind of ready for that. But understanding conflict, um, it's just having a different, I guess, perspective as you get older. Yeah, gotta keep your head on a swivel. Yeah, yeah. Baton Rouge is like that. Uh, yeah, it's like that over there. Yes, USPS is using UPS instead of FedEx now. I was right, yo. I knew I read it. I read that, but I just wasn't for sure about in which way. But now my chat box froze up. Did it? Nah, it's still good. Yeah, FedEx lost UPS. Maybe I don't know what it was. Maybe FedEx got enough work already. What are some common issues on a deleted truck? Oh my goodness. Common issues on a deleted truck is I mean, that's a good question. That's a whole nother broadcast though, man. That's a whole nother broadcast. Antonio, the dealership not wanting to work on your truck. Why not? Antonio. Oh yeah, probably not. But other mechanics would work on them, couldn't they? Well, the thing is working on deleted trucks, there's a couple problems. The first problem is when a delete is done, mostly it's a hack delete. So there's not a for sure chance that the problem wasn't caused by the delete. So having to troubleshoot an issue without eliminating that it was caused by the delete is very challenging. Very challenging. So that's the main reason. And the second reason is it's just since it's so challenging and time consuming. There's a guy that I mean the comment earlier about them changing the whole fuel system on a unit that's not deleted. So I mean these are mechanical items that we're working on. There's a lot of different things that are working together. So whenever you add something else, basically reprogramming the brain that runs the whole mechanism can make it more challenging. So that's why a lot of people are not touching them because you could waste time. Earl says he's running out of East Chicago, Indiana area. Oh, okay. Appreciate that. My clutch is a little scratchy sometimes. I'm waiting for it to go out of the way on its own. Brian, get it looked at because do you have the money to replace it already? Go ahead and replace it. If it is scratchy, I mean, is it? What do you mean scratchy? Because the clutch is that when you're coming to a stop. Now that is a common problem, and I appreciate you bringing that up, Brian. It's possible that if it is a manual adjusting clutch, that it needs to be adjusted. It's up to their discretion if they can or will when it comes to working on deleted trucks. I just kind of explained to you why deleted trucks aren't that sought out for when it comes to trying to troubleshoot their problems, because most of the time it's going to be low power complaints, and it's most of the time because the cylinder is overheated. So there's damage. There's something else about the inspection mechanics with bro. They just doing 8-hour shifts and truly they are unexperienced. There's something else about the inspections mechanics with bro. Just doing 8-hour shifts and truly are unexperienced. Who are you talking about? What do you mean by I don't know? Yes, I need to come and see you guys. You work on my truck before. Appreciate that, Juan. DD15, how you feel about me oil changing the oil every 30,000 miles? That sounds like an extended interval. I would definitely get a oil analysis done. I cover that pretty often. Shouldn't overhead adjustments be basic on diesel tech skills? Well, it should be, yes, but now with modern engines, it can be a little bit more detailed. So, and tools, the tools aren't all the same. Some use different size filler gauges. Most of them use filler gauges, and Jake brakes are different as well. Engine brakes definitely need to be replaced with valves as well. Some different engines have different techniques when finding the right position to have the engine when doing a valve adjustment. So most engines are marked, but like when it the older or the more modern Series 60s were using, for example, um, a gauge to kind of measure when your push rod for the injector was all the way up and barely coming back down. So you would need to mount a gauge on top of that rocker and rotate the engine until you get to that called an overlap. That's whenever it's just kind of not closed but open, barely going back to opening it again. So that's overlap. So there are different procedures for different models. So it's very important to use an experienced shop whenever you're doing these types of valve adjustments. Some trucks, Volvos in particular, may have more work when it comes to removing more parts to access, like cylinder number 6 and 5, because of just the access is not there. They did my truck valve adjusted and had no problem. Appreciate your feedback, man. Have you seen injector tip seals on the ISX 15? Yeah, they came out looking like it was a way over torque. It wasn't. It wasn't my 100% sure, but man, it was a difficult to remove. Yeah, man, those injector tip seals are a pain in the butt. For some reason, Cummins started making their heads with non-serviceable injector tips, and that's pretty common failure as well. Thank you for bringing that up. Injector cups will go out as well on the Volvos, also with DD15s as well. We see them more often on Cummins and Volvos. That's a more common issue is injector cups. California's in the house. Ali says, as a diesel mechanic and a car certified, small check California is getting pretty rough on these truckers, bro. For example, we're having DMV registration holds. Wow. I don't know. I still see people working out there. I still see people working outside out there and working like your boy out there out of California. He's working outside. Doesn't even have a shop. I don't see how that's allowed. Like in Dallas, we can't even if you're not licensed to have something outside, then they even come by and give you some static. So I wonder how he's doing it without getting static out there. Have you seen yeah. But you know what? As California gets their regulations more and more, diesel technicians are going to be more sought out because they're going to be more in demand to know how to repair these, because it's not going to be delete. I've been doing Arizona and Texas driver having citations on checkpoints with entering California driving need to be careful. So Ale says that that they're getting a little bit more strict out there in California when it comes to running non-emissions trucks. Appreciate that information. Everyone, if you're in the DFW area and you're looking for a quality shop that has express professional service with experience in all models, Class A trucks, if you're driving a Volvo, DD15, PACCAR, Caterpillar, MP8, we can work on your engine. We also do light duty Fords and medium duties. I know that your truck says heavy duty if you're F350, but in our field it's considered medium duty or light duty. So no offense. We check those out, and we also do RVs. If you're rolling through the DFW area, if you're passing through Dallas, we are off of Interstate 20 and exit 472. I appreciate that insight there. 472. There's truck stops around us. Definitely check us out. Give us a call, 972-225-3017. I wanted to cover some of the comments as well that were coming in on the newly released video, but I am running out of time today. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I hope that you guys were able to bring some information or get some information out of today's live. If so, I feel like my job is done. So check us out next time. Be sure to like the video, share the video if you know anybody in the industry. And my video freezes up at the end. We're wrapping it up, guys. Thank you for joining us. Sorry about the technical difficulties.